want to read at home.
So they are kind of, but these don't go by author, but if they end up reading 10 books by...
then they get that. The award is named after the writer.
Oh, the award is named after the writer.
Yeah.
Okay, nice. And the children are familiar with these writers?
Yeah. My children are, I don't think are. No. Roald Dahl.
So not all of them.
They don't know, like...
Shakespeare would be kind of... it's not really age appropriate
no.
for these guys.
Yeah.
But, yeah, okay. So, do they also get to...
Also, by the way, when you meet with the other lady, she'll do the fact checks and like the more specifics in terms of how the school runs. Because I've only been here since September, so anything that like she'll clarify, which is good.
And you've got... do they get a chance to share with the wider school community what they've read? Is there any...
We did a book review because the literacy lead sent round... We were all encouraged to just take a book in some of these new books, and one of them was the Malala one. And then we were asked to write on a post-it note our review of the book. So we, as a class, discussed what we liked, what we enjoyed about it, and then I just took the best ideas and wrote it on a post-it note. And then that is now on our trees. So when you walk past around the school, there's loads of different trees that have different postcards that have book reviews. So I guess that's used to foster.
And those trees are for each, what, year?
I'm not sure how she's arranged it. I think she might have just done a sample from each year group.
Okay. And are there any other displays around the school that are reading related? Like I went to one of these schools and they had like everyone reads, and the teachers with books in front of their faces and they had to guess.
There was a competition, the extreme reading competition, like to read in different obscure places.
Okay.
Again, like get
in this school?
Yeah, in this school.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
I did that in my old school as well, where you just get people like hanging upside down and reading. It's just to.
Okay. And did everyone participate in that?
So I think some did, not all of them. Just the more like where their parents were a bit more proactive.
Oh, okay. So it wasn't like
had to.
It was just someone did it.
Yeah, the literacy lead.
And this is something they did at home and brought a picture to school?
Yeah, I can't really remember. I think it was mainly it was directed at teachers first. So it's just like send in a picture of us reading in strange places.
Okay.
I don't actually know what she did with it because I don't remember seeing it.
I could ask her later.
Yeah. Okay. Are you speaking to the Miss Kondo?
No, I don't really know if I'm talking to Karen, the other Karen from year one.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure if I'm going to speak to Karen herself.
Yeah.
But I could always ask her on email.
Yeah.
What they've done.
Yeah, exactly.
So you've got, and do you know if your school has signed the Reading for Pleasure pledge? I'll ask Karen. And we've talked about and you received specific training for Reading for Pleasure at this school.
Well, it was, I can't remember the name of the training now, but it was built into the reading training. I don't know if it was specific. It wasn't specifically on Reading for Pleasure, but that was one of the elements. Is that it's important. It's definitely a priority for the school.
And are there any influences on, like, besides the teacher training conducted? Because you came across Reading for Pleasure here. Did you also come across it when you were training initially?
In my old school as well. So yeah, because I've taught in the other school for 3 years.
Okay.
What was the question?
Do you feel like there are any influences besides the teacher training conducted by your school that have shaped your views on Reading for Pleasure?
I think probably my own kind of upbringing. Like reading is very like important. My parents both read a lot. They've got lots of friends that are writers as well, so that's helped me. Like John Agard, I wrote that in here. John Agard, do you know him?
Yeah.
And his wife is Grace Nichols, and they're our family friends. So that's been really helpful in me like growing up with that. I think and being inspired by them has helped me. I'm trying to think where.
And you yourself, because I haven't been through this, but you're a reader yourself.
Yeah, I think I don't have as much time, like especially with teaching. I just find them marking into the evening, so I don't really have time. And Reading for Pleasure, I said mainly I'm just trying to learn Italian, so it's not really that's pleasurable in that sense. I'm going to be learning another language, but no, I don't find enough time to read for
So
pleasure.
as growing up, were you?
Growing up, I did, but I think it was more at university that I really started to love literature.
Okay. Yeah, but that
I love
background.
Shakespeare as well. With having drama, I think actually drama has probably been a big influence on me as well. Reading good quality dramatic texts.
And do you find that you require or receive any support from admin or your colleagues in trying to, is this part of the school conversation where you sit and you talk about how to get children to love books more? Is there any interaction on that in the staff room?
I think there's it's people often bring in books that they don't want or don't need, and then they leave it in the staff room. So it's kind of like an exchanging of books, which is nice. That's more like they'll either be for adults, so you can take some books and enjoy, or it'll be there's these books again.
So just teachers bring their own. I don't want this.
Don't need that, or it's not appropriate for our age level. It's better for year one. So it's a nice exchange in that way. Yeah.
So across classroom for libraries.
Yeah.
Okay.
And also I forgot about I lied. We go to the library once a week.
Oh, okay.
And that is where they can read independently again, choose their book. And so so they take home a reading book, and then they also take home a library book as well.
Okay, and so that's is that every
week?
That's
not decodable usually.
And they can just pick out whichever book they want. And so that's 2 books on the same.
That's on a Thursday. So on a Wednesday they get their new book, and on a Thursday, but it depends on which year group you're in.
So you go to the library every Wednesday?
Every Thursday.
Every Thursday you go to the library, and then they can take that book.
Yeah.
Home.
Yeah,
and then
we try and encourage
to the library next.
And then and then they exchange it if they bring it back.
Okay.
I think that's really nice. It's so nice having a library space. Like in my old school, we didn't have that.
Is it like a public library, or?
It's just in our school. It's upstairs.
It's a proper library upstairs.
Yeah.
The main school library.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's organised really nicely. You've got your non-fiction.
Maybe when I come to talk to Karen, I'll just take a look upstairs also.
And another thing is that you find that your international students gravitate towards wherever they're from. So meaning that they'll find a book that's in their language, which is nice. And again, I try and encourage that. Yeah, in the library they've got Italian, Japanese, Polish, and that's nice. They and I think that helps.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah.
Okay. That's nice because sometimes especially if you have EL students, that would be really, because ultimately you want to foster a love for reading, whether it's in any language.
Yeah.
I mean, it's transferable and say. That's interesting. And how do you involve? So you talked about one event where you involved parents, but is there any other ways that you involve parents in?
I think through the award card, so that they kind of are accountable for that. And then just making sure that they sign their reading records. Any other ways?
Do you have specific reading workshops for parents to tell them
what
the school's doing?
On it.
Okay, but it's for phonics and not for reading for pleasure. Okay. And
we had I think we had an initial, when they first joined, an initial conversation on how to read with your child. But it wasn't really based. It was based on, it was said it must be pleasurable. But it wasn't
specifically, but it was how to read with your child, and there was an aspect of Well, but ultimately, I think that kind of
it's not ignored. It's definitely not ignored.
And you already talked about but you're not going to a public library or anything, but you have this. Okay. And but is when you're talking to parents, are they encouraged to join the public library, take their kids there, or is that something that?
I think it probably is. Yeah, I don't know, because there's a lot of information that gets sent to parents. It's a very proactive school in that, so it probably is, but I don't know.
Okay. And
we always get handed book tokens and things like that.
Okay. And do teachers meet formally to exchange best reading for pleasure practices, or?
We meet to discuss the strategy that we're going to be talking about in guided reading.
Okay.
That we're going to be teaching. So we have dedicated time on a Thursday after school to talk about that. but
reading for pleasure.
Reading for pleasure
isn't necessarily okay. And do you document? Because again, there was a group of schools that were doing reading for pleasure, the pledge, and it involved documenting the impact fostering reading for pleasure had on their students. Are you doing any of that here? Okay. And do you think that year one teachers would face like additional challenges in trying to foster reading for pleasure, or trying to focus on reading for pleasure?
I think that because they're so young, you naturally would try and bring that out in them, and I think the texts that we choose are good for them enjoying it. They're very, like, some of them are very repetitive and easy to act out. So, but then I think because we allow time for reading for pleasure through English and through guided reading. I think it's that's the first thing you want children to enjoy it, and then if they're not enjoying it, then they're not going to learn the strategies. So I think no, it's not too hard in year one. I think it's
okay. And do you think, but you don't think that there are any particular challenges, but what about do you find with the phonics screening check? That probably would take away, I mean, phonics, the kind of, the focus on phonics is, probably wouldn't. I don't know, I can't really explain, I don't really know what I'm trying to say. What am I trying to say? Do you think that somehow it's like you have the skill of reading, which is the decoding and comprehension strategies, and then you have the will of reading, which is children doing independent reading and then starting to kind of develop seeing themselves as readers there. I think that the kind of hindrance is probably that there's not enough time to read one-to-one the child. I think that there definitely is as a group, but I don't think that there's not enough time in our day to really take that quality time to be like, because it has quite a fast pace, so there isn't there isn't time carved out so that you can individually develop and get to know the children's interests. Like I don't think I know every single child's interest individually, because I haven't had that time. I think as a group I can say, oh, they're really enjoying this, or they've chosen that book, but no, there isn't enough time to get to know the children. And do you find that, like, even with independent reading, do you find like the curriculum kind of is like the center? This is something that I'm interested in, because I feel like as a teacher, when I know this is what the curriculum wants, and even when they're reading independently, that's something that I'm thinking about, and I want opportunities to bring that in. I think in my old school there was kind of times to take them outside and go and read. I think there probably could be. I think now that I've established myself here, I think that there could be more chances to do that. They go out and just enjoy the experience of reading. But I do think the pressures to assess and to get a criteria ticked does come into it, definitely. Yeah, and it's also kind of a very crucial stage, I feel, when they just have to. The phonics thing is a big thing, and I think it's also very important. It's not something that we can throw away either. It's not that they have to. The challenge is kind of maybe balancing that. And I think maybe in the beginning, when they're first settling in, that should be the really, really fostering that reading pleasure, because then you don't have to. I don't know. You're just getting to know them, getting to know their likes and dislikes, maybe at the beginning, rather than decode. I was thinking when I was assessing them, I was like, this is ironic, because I'm just like reeling through words with them. Yeah, well, it's. I think it's also the English language itself is such a challenge, because it's a crazy language, isn't it? I mean, look at that. What they have to go through. Because I learned Spanish and you're learning Italian, it's so much easier to learn to read. And so that's another kind of, I think, additional challenge for those of us who. And so I kind of know how much time you dedicate to skills-centered activities and reading for pleasure activities in your class. So you're saying, but still answer that question for me. So how much time do you think you dedicate to skill-centered activities and reading for pleasure activities in your class?
I think the majority is skill. Yeah, I think it starts off with, I think that they're probably like 80% on skill.
Okay.
Because when I ranked it on here, I talked about more my own personal view rather than maybe what I'm actually doing.
Yeah.
If you think about it. I thought that. I think we focus on reading and that it will help with writing a lot more than the developing imagination. And I think part of that developing that imagination is linked to the pleasure. Like if you have a good imagination, you're going to enjoy it. And
yeah. I don't know. So that's your personal opinion, but then there's what's.
But then there's what they need to be, where they need to be at the end of the year.
Yeah, and what's doable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And just some questions about just you. How long have you been teaching?
This is my 4th year now.
Okay. And you've been teaching at the school only since
September.
And is there anything else at all that you think would help? That you'd like to add, or before we wrap up the interview?
No, I don't think so. I think it's been a useful conversation because I think that we need to remember that, especially when we've got all these additional pressures, remember that they need to love reading. Not need to, but it'd be nice for them to.
Yeah.
And tailor the reading corner more to their kind of tastes and interests.
What value do you think? I mean, I don't know. I've come across a lot this view that at this age they need to get the phonics out of the way, and that's the focus, and then we can focus on reading for pleasure later.
Yeah.
Would you?
No. I think that. I know. I don't agree. I think that they need to love it, and then going back to imagination and imagining themselves as the writer.
Yeah.
I think that it is important.
Okay. Yeah. Well, no, it's been really nice. And we did 47 minutes.
Sorry, I started zoning out. No, not zoning out, but